Thank you and welcome back to the final segment of the show for today. We're talking to Alvin Haney, and he's giving us some information in reference to bicycling out west, a trip that he and members of his organization took going from one part of the West to another. And AJ, I think what you ought to do is to simply inform our audience in terms of bicycling out west. Where did you start from and how long did you go and that kind of information?
Okay, well, let me start with, this is my third year participating in the Fuller Center Bike Adventure. Previous 2 years, I've done segments from Boise, Idaho. I've done segments starting in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and going to Chicago, Illinois. And so last summer, that was, I guess, my year to do it all. I wanted to go all the way instead of just doing a week or two. I decided to take up a 10-week journey and traveling from Oceanside, California to Portland, Maine. Along with that, of course, comes different challenges in trying to, first of all, raise money because, the main purpose of this is to support the Fuller Center for Housing, to spread the word about what they do and what the organization is all about. And so I did have to raise, it was mandatory that each whole way rider, as we call it, raise $4,000. So I did end up, with generous support from people at school, friends and family. I was able to raise that amount of money and a little bit more. But that money, of course, goes towards the Fuller Center. So to raise the money was one challenge. To be physically ready for, a 3,000 mile, actually a 4,000 mile bike trip, that was another challenge.
That's actually riding a bicycle 4,000 miles.
4,000 miles, right. And then there's the challenge of, living kind of as a community with people I don't know. You know, I have one friend of mine from Nashville who's also associated with the Fuller Center, and we ride here locally. He came in and he did 2 weeks with me, but you know, the other 8 weeks I was kind of be on my own. You know, you have to live with people. You have to be able to, you know, you ride with them during the day, but then in the evenings we have, you know, these generous host churches that take us in, and we sleep on the floor. We sleep on the church pews. We, you know, eat the meals provided, you know, to us by them. And again, they were very generous, and you know, found ourselves overwhelmed with the generosity of just the people in the country. As you go across the country, and people are willing to take care of you, they're willing to take out of their lives and their time to help somebody who's helping others, and that, you know, was really inspiring for me. I got out to California, I guess June 3rd of last summer, and in Oceanside, California is kind of where we started. We went down to the ocean, and we dipped our back tire into the ocean, saying that, hey, we're starting, you know, from the back here, and we're going to go there at the Pacific Ocean, and we're going to go to the Atlantic Ocean. After dipping our tire into the ocean, we took off. We started pedaling, and each day we averaged around 80 miles. You know, there were some days where it was only 40 or 50, but there were some days where it was 90 or 100 miles. So, you know, the average ended up being 80 miles per day. We traveled across the state of California, got to go to Palm Springs, California, and, you know, see the vastness there, where right there in the middle of the desert, here's a town, here's a city, and it's a, you know, a nice city as well. Got to go to the Grand Canyon. We did end up spending a couple nights in the Grand Canyon. Some of the people that were with me hiked, you know, down to the bottom and back. I found myself not wanting to do any hiking after you had just biked, you know, 80 or 90 miles just for that day. You know, most of our weeks ended up being, you know, 300+ mile weeks on the bicycle. So the weekends that we had off, I was ready to sit down. We incorporate, of course, build days within there. One of our first build days was in Palm Springs. You know, our build day could consist of just doing yard work. It can consist of painting. It consists of, you know, putting in fixtures for people, doing wheelchair ramps, doing, in Palm Springs, we actually put a fence. We replaced a fence around a house. We went on, of course, to Colorado, in Colorado Springs, and I believe that you all had a video of that. That was one of the places where we helped with a respite house, where, you know, if families in need of, I guess, a time away from their children, if they find themselves kind of at wit's end, they can go there at any time of the day or night and just kind of drop their children off. So they needed a safe, comfortable place for those children to be. When we got there, the backyard was in disrepair, and although they had a place for the children to play in the backyard, it really wasn't a safe place, and it definitely wasn't a clean place. So, you know, just going in there, pulling up some weeds, taking the outdoor play equipment and repainting it, going inside and doing, again, light fixtures, painting, whatever we could do to, you know, help these people, to help, you know, really it's just one house at a time. And that's what the Fuller Center mission is. It's about helping people have a safe place to live, just one house at a time. And that's kind of the core mission of what they do. Went from there, of course, all the way across Kansas, and you know, Kansas is just like they say in the movies, kind of got caught in a tornado or two, and with the wind blowing, we, you know, pulled over and rested until the wind passed, and we got back on our bikes and we rode. We rode whether it was, you know, raining or sunny, as long as there was no lightning, we were pedaling our bikes. We got to Illinois. Peoria, Illinois was another one of the stops that was most memorable for me. Stopping in Peoria, we got to help a former Army veteran, Mr. Oscar, I can't remember his last name, but going to his house, I think the city was about to actually to condemn his house or his whole property because of the fact that the garage was falling apart. You know, the roof was in disrepair, and they were just, you know, it was just not a safe place, you know, not only to park a car, but the inside of his house as well to live. The Fuller Center Covenant Partner, which is kind of like the local chapter there, the Covenant Partner in Fuller Center, or the Covenant Partner in Peoria, Illinois, they specialize in helping veterans. And so Oscar was one of the veterans that we helped that day, and just seeing the joy in his face when he, saw these 30 people in orange, get out of the vans and say, hey, we're here to help you. He was overwhelmed, and we were overwhelmed as well. I had never put on a roof before or seen, what goes into it, but, we learned how to do that. Of course, there are some skilled laborers there, but most of us are people who don't have many skills. We may know a few things here and there about home repair and about fixing up things, but we kind of learned as we did. So, to tear the whole roof off and to put a new one on, as we were tearing it off, here comes, possums out at the top of his roof. And so we had to deal with the possum and trying to, get him off the property. I think I spent most of that day at the wood chipper. So every branch that they cut down, I put it through the chipper, and we, made pieces out of it. And then we had to bag it up. And so I think that was my 8-hour day on a wood chipper, which, again, we do that so that we can help others. Continued, of course, across the country, through Illinois, through Indiana, stopped in Ohio. Stopping in Ohio, I got to actually see one of the families that we had helped the previous year. In Ohio, the community that we stopped in the previous year, I got to help this lady who's a babysitter, and ended up meeting her and, communicating with her, through social media and such, and let her know I was in town. And she invited me over and said, hey, she couldn't wait to see, to see me again, and for me to see her, to see how we had helped her by fixing up her house the year before, and made a lifelong friend. And so, the Fuller Center for Housing is just about helping people, about providing the community with a safe place to live. Anybody who might wish to become involved in the Fuller Center or might want to assist the center in identifying individuals, what would you say to them over the last minute that we have? Okay, we also have the Fuller Center for Housing, a local covenant partner. The Fuller Center for Housing of Middle Tennessee, of which I'm a part of, we are actually seeking applicants who need help. So if there's anyone that needs some help, our email address is middletennessee@fullercenter.org. They can contact us there. We have a P.O. Box in Antioch, P.O. Box 2280, Antioch, Tennessee 37011. We would be glad to help some families locally as well. All they have to remember is the Fuller Center and Habitat for the Humanities is not part of it, but it came out of that group. Right, came out of that, right. So then they can submit an application and y'all can help them. Is that what you're saying? Yes, sir. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to help families here in Middle Tennessee. Well, AJ, let me thank you over the last 10 seconds that we have here for giving us that excellent information and allowing us to see some of the activities, and especially to inform me in reference to some of your activities over the last many years. And let me encourage our audience to tune in again next week to another informative edition of Comments. Thank you and good morning.